The Jefferson County Sheriff tells us half a dozen to a dozen homes in this area in Chelsea were affected, but this one right here, a particularly terrible story. 3 fatalities on this property where just a foundation remains. The house itself was blown something like a half a football field away. You can barely see it, not just because it's dark outside, but it appears to be barely a house still and in terrible conditions. And we also learned that one of the victims in this, a 4-year-old boy. That's from the sheriff. Now, we actually spoke with a family friend who tells us that boy was in his mother's arms and was ripped out during the storm. That mother and her daughter did survive. However, the children's great-grandparents were also victims in the storm.
Hardworking. I mean, these folks have worked hard every day of their life. You know, they're hardworking farming family, and just good people. You know, let's say our community's lost some really good people tonight, and it's hard on everybody.
There was also one other fatality just down the road. The sheriff tells us an adult man also passed away. Working for you in Chelsea, Elizabeth Donatelli, Wave 3 News.
A viewer gave us this video from near the small town of Nab in Jefferson County, Indiana. James Greenwell rolled as those clouds formed not far from several homes. Minutes later, the storms killed 4 people in the nearby community of Chelsea. That's where Wave 3's Elizabeth Donatelli.
Now, there is so much loss here in this community tonight. As you can see, this very home right here, it is a loss, and the homeowner was actually inside at the time that the storm hit. And we're going to walk around and just seeing on this path, there are everyday items around here. I mean, it's eerie. There's a fan. It looks like a vacuum hose. This is a chair that belongs to a child, just scattered and littered across the yard, as you can see, stretching into the neighbor's yard as well. But what is unique about this neighborhood is it's more than just people who live next to each other. Many of these families are indeed family. The small town of Chelsea, Indiana is forever changed. Homes destroyed and lives lost.
You can see all the material just up in the air, and you can see the tornado going through.
Don Clefman's uncle Terry Jackson and his wife Nancy, both 70, were here where a house once stood.
He was about like me, easy going, kind of had a lot of fun.
The couple's granddaughter was inside with her 2 kids. A family friend tells us the wind ripped her 4-year-old son, Dalen Jackson, out of his mother's arms. The coroner says they found all 3 victims outside. They died from multiple blunt force traumas.
It made me think about my little boy, and I get to go home to him and tuck him in at night, and she can't.
The Jacksons are a very well-known family in this community.
He was in store, he's always quiet. D's business, it's always pleasant to have around. Now, his wife was always a jokester. She'd pick on me a little bit when she'd come in.
The owner of the Chelsea General Store had to scare himself during the storm when several school buses with children stopped to take cover.
We're a little over 60. We brought them all back here behind the coolers in this area here.
Back on Jackson Road, Governor Mitch Daniels spoke with one of the bus drivers.
We were getting hailed on. It was huge, and it sounded like I was in a tin can. My kids were so good, though. Blessings.
But when she got home, her house was barely standing, ripped off its foundation, and a stone's throw away from where her family once lived, the Jacksons. Now, one of the victims, that couple there, they leave behind a son who's a conservation officer, and the Governor Mitch Daniels, made a point to talk to him in private and express his condolences. So what happens now for this neighborhood? Well, as you can see down there, there are power crews getting ready. They are working. They are putting up new telephone poles and power lines, but as we were just saying, to turn the lights on. However, in this neighborhood, in this stretch right here, unfortunately, there are very few lights left to turn on. Reporting live in Chelsea, Indiana, Elizabeth Donatelli, Wave 3 News.
A southern Indiana woman whose family was ripped apart hiding inside a home during the early March tornadoes speaks for the first time. She, along with family and friends, And other victims say they're being taken advantage of now by the health department as they try to rebuild. Wave 3's Elizabeth Donatelli is live from Chelsea, Indiana, at the site where it all happened. And Liz, it's tough to hear the tornado victims feel like victims again.
Oh, you know, I didn't even think of it that way, Scott, but you're absolutely right. And several of them, of those family members, were actually during the storm huddled here, which, believe it or not, there was actually a house standing here at one point, but not all of them survived, and now they are facing a new battle. Tornadoes claimed the lives of several on Jackson Road, named after the family.
Just that day, everybody lost a lot. And it was just horrible.
Amanda Jackson is speaking with us for the first time since she lost 3 family members.
My 4-year-old son and my grandparents.
Her little boy, Dalen, was taken out of her arms by the powerful wind.
No one can explain what it's like to go through it. I mean, every day, you just got to get up, and keep right on going. And we stay busy.
How do you keep on going?
I don't know. I still got 3 girls at home, and I have to get up and I have to go.
Her land was damaged and her mother Carrie's home destroyed.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just here. This is what I heard.
Which brought them to a meeting at the health department.
When you ain't got nothing left, the last thing on your mind is having to worry about fighting with you people.
Where a handful of people pointed fingers at Administrator Ralph Armand.
And you all enable this. You are responsible for his actions, and that's why the citizens are here.
Ask Mr. Armand to step aside.
You are driving people out of this county.
They lost everything, and I think we owe it to them to help them out as best we can. A little compassion. That's right. That's exactly what we said we were doing.
The Jacksons are dealing with a septic issue that may be cleared up.
There's no problem with your project whatsoever.
And say they were overcharged $600 for a soil test.
I will refund every penny of the $800 if you can prove that I did that.
Appointments, contracts, and bills she has to worry about after saying goodbye to 3 very important people.
You have enough to worry about replacing everything, and some things you can't replace. And you have enough to worry about. You shouldn't have to worry about this.
Now, a member of the County Board of Health, those were those folks sitting up in that room, does say that he supports the resolution by the commissioners that would make it easier for the folks here to build and rebuild. But as for that meeting, it was a session for public comment, lots of people sharing their opinions, but nothing really happened, meaning nothing was voted on and nothing was decided on. Reporting live in Chelsea, Elizabeth Donatelli, Wave 3 News.